Namaste. So I'm going to read Book 7, Chapter 16 on the story of Suna Sepa. Om Vakaratana Mahakaya Surya Kotis. Om Guru Brahma Guru Vishnu Guru Deva Guru Sakshat. Vyasa said, O king, when Varuna went away, the king was very much laid down with that dropsy, and daily his pains began to increase, and he began to suffer extreme pains. O king, the prince, on the other hand, heard in the forest of the illness of his father, and filled with affection, wanted to go to his father. A year had passed away, and the prince desired very gladly to go to his father and see him. Knowing this, Indra came there. He came instantly in the form of a Brahmin, and with favorable arguments desisted the prince, who was about to go to his father. Indra said, O prince, it seems you are silly. You know nothing of the difficult state policies. Therefore, it is that you are ready to go out of sheer ignorance to your father. O fortunate one, if you go there, your father will get his sacrifice, where a human victim is to be offered, performed by the Vedic Brahmanas, and your flesh will be offered as oblations to the blazing fire. O child, the souls of all the beings are very dear. It is for that reason, for the sake of soul, that sons, wife, wealth, and jewels are all dear. Therefore, though you are his dear son, like his son, yet he will certainly have you killed and get homers offered to free himself from the disease. O prince, you ought not to go home now. Rather, when your father dies, you would certainly go there and inherit your kingdom. O king, thus hindered by Vasava, the prince remained in that forest for 1 year more. But when the prince again heard of the severe illness of his father, he wanted again to go to his father. Resolved to count the death of his own self, Indra also came there in the form of a Brahmin, and, with reasonable words, repeatedly advised him not to go there. Here, on the other hand, the king Harishchandra became very much distressed and troubled, and by the disease, and asked his family priest Vasishtha Deva, O Brahmana, what is the sure remedy for the cure of the disease? Vasishtha, the Brahma's son, said, O king, purchase one son by giving his value, then perform the sacrifice which that purchased son, and you will be freed from the curse. O king, the Brahmins, versed in the Vedas, say that the sons are of 10 kinds, of whom the son purchased and paying its proper value is one of them. So buy one son. There will very probably be within your kingdom a Brahmin who might sell out of avarice his son. In that case, Varunadeva will certainly be pleased and grant your happiness. Hearing these words of the high-souled Vasishtha, the king became glad and ordered his minister to look after such a son. There lived in that king's dominion one Brahmin named Ajigartha, very poor. He had 3 sons. The minister spoke to him to purchase his son. I will give you 100 cows. Give one son of yours for the sacrifice. You have 3 sons, named respectively Suna Pucha, Suna Sepa, and Suno Langula. Give me out of them one son, and I will give you 100 cows as his value. Ajigartha was very much distressed for want of food, so when he heard the proposal, he expressed his desire to sell his son. He thought that his eldest son was the rightful person to perform funeral obsequies and offer pinda, and he therefore did not spare him. The youngest son too he did not spare also, as he considered that his own. At last he sold his second son for the price of 100 cows. The king then brought him and made him the victim for that sacrifice. When that boy was fastened to the sacrificial post, he began to tremble, and very much distressed with sorrow began to cry. Seeing this, the Munis cried out in a very pitiful tone. When the king gave permission for the immolation of that boy, the slaughterer did not take weapons to slaughter him. He thought that he would never be able to kill the boy, since he is crying in a very pitiful tone. When he thus withdrew himself from his work, the king then asked his counselors, O Devas, what ought to be done now? Sunasepa then began to cry in a very pitiful voice. The people present there began to discuss, and there arose a great noise on the affair. Then Ajigartha stood up in the midst of the assembly and spoke, O king, be patient, I will fulfill your desire. I am desirous of wealth, and if you give me double the amount, I will slay immediately the victim, and you can complete early your sacrifice. O king, he who is hankering after money can always entertain feelings of enmity even towards his own son. There is no doubt in this. Vyasa said, O king, hearing those words of Ajigartha, Harishchandra gladly spoke to him, I will immediately give you another 100 excellent cows. Hearing thus, the son's father, avaricious of wealth, immediately resolved and became ready to slay his son. All the counselors, seeing the father ready to slay his son, were struck with sorrow and began to lament, exclaiming, Alas, this wretch, a disgrace to his family, is now ready to kill his own son. Oh, we never saw before such a cruel, vicious person. This Brahmin must be a demon in a Brahmin body. Fie on you, O Chandala, what a vicious work are you now going to do? What happiness do you derive by slaying the son, the jewel of jewels, only to get some wealth, O sinner? It is stated in the Vedas that the soul takes its birth from one's body. So how are you going to slay your soul? When the hue and cry arose in the assembly, Vishwamitra, the son of Kausika, went to the king and out of pity said, O king, Sunasepa is very piteously crying. So let him be free, and then your sacrifice will be complete and you will be free of your disease. There is no virtue like mercy, and there is no vice like killing himsa. What is written about killing animals in the sacrifice is only meant for the persons inclined for sensual objects and to give them a stimulus in that direction. O king, he who wants his own welfare and who wants to preserve his own body ought not to cut another's body. He who pities equally all the beings get contented with a trivial gain and subdues all his senses. God is soon pleased with him. O king, you should treat all the jivas like yourself and thus always spend your life so dear to all. Your desire to preserve your body by taking away the life of this boy, similarly, why would he not try to preserve his own body, the receptacle of happiness and pleasures? O king, you have desired to kill this innocent Brahmin boy, but he will never overlook this enmity of yours done in previous lives. If anybody kills another willingly, though he has got no enmity with him, then the one that is killed will certainly kill afterwards the slayer. His father, out of greed for money, is deprived of intellect and so has sold away his son. The Brahmin is certainly very cruel and sinful. There is no doubt in this. When one goes to Gaya, or one performs an Ashvamedha sacrifice, or when one offers a blue bull, Nila Visabha, one does so on the consideration that one would desire to have many sons. Moreover, the king has to suffer for 1/6 of the sins committed by anyone in his kingdom. There is no doubt in this. Therefore, the king ought certainly to prohibit any man when he wants to do a sinful act. Why then did you not prevent this man when he desired to sell his son? O king, you are the son of Trisanku, especially you are born of the solar line of kings. So how have you desired, being born an Arya, to do an act becoming an Arya, non-Aryan? If you take my word and quickly free this Brahmin boy, you will certainly derive virtue in your body. Your father was converted into a Chandala by a curse, but I sent him in his very body to the heavens. And you are well acquainted with this fact. Therefore, king, keep my word out of your love for that. This boy is very pitiful, crying, so free him. I pray this from you in this your Rajasura sacrifice, and if you do not keep my word, you will incur the sin of not keeping my word. Do you not realize this, O king? You will have to give anything that a man wants from you in the sacrifice, but if you do otherwise, sin will attack you, no doubt. Vyasa said, O king, hearing these words of Kausika, the king Harishchandra spoke thus, O son of Gadi, I am suffering very much from the dropsy. I will not be able, therefore, to free him. You can pray for some other thing. You ought not to throw obstacles in this my sacrifice. Vishwamitra became very angry at this, and seeing the Brahmin boy very distressed, became sorrowful and mourned very much. Here ends the 16th chapter on the 7th book on the story of Sunasepa in the Mahapuranam Srimad Devi Bhagavatam of 18,000 verses by Maharishi Ved Vyasa. Om Jayanti Mangalakari Bhadrakari Kapani Dragakshmash Vidati Swaswara Namaste. Om Tuya Mata Chapitatu.